have you got some water?
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the True You podcast with me, Paula Burns, creative confidence and visibility mentor. So this is a place where we have open discussions to understand who we are in order that we can live our lives to the fullest. And regularly, I come on here with this podcast with special guests who are living their version of their true life. And I love the range of people that come onto my podcast because I strongly believe, and if you have been listening to me regularly, you know that I say this a lot, that I strongly believe we are all individuals. We all have that unique self and that unique trait about us. And I love hearing the stories, the vibrant stories, the stories where people are so sort of like full of joy of living the life that they really want to live. So, I've got another amazing guest today, and I am going to introduce her now and hand the floor over to her because I know you're all going to love her. She's got a great story to tell. So welcome, Sarah Naylor.
Much, Paula. Thank you for inviting me along. It's absolutely awesome to be here, and it's just wonderful. You know, when you meet somebody that echoes your mindset, your thoughts, and how you are. I mean, everything you were saying, I'm going, yes, yes,
Yes, yes.
absolutely. Because being true to yourself, being yourself, and embracing that, and actually doing the work to find out who that is. Because let's face it,
Absolutely.
over the years, you build up sort of different patterns that might serve you at the time
Yeah.
because you are learning and you are growing. But as we know, as you get into a more mature age of your life,
Mm-hmm.
you start to sort of unpack all of that and start
Yeah,
to really reform who you are, because with age and maturity comes wisdom and lived experiences.
absolutely.
And you realize that all of this stuff, all of this noise
Mhm.
is
Yeah,
just noise from societal pressures and the
yeah.
patriarchy and this sort of trying to keep you into a box to control you. And actually, when you come bashing your way out of the box, you go, no,
Absolutely, absolutely. And actually, I came to realize, I was having this conversation with my niece. Obviously, she's young, she's in her early 30s, and I love having deep conversations and really talking about this. And looking back, I feel like we have to pick up these things, try them, turn them over, look at them, wonder if this fits and if it doesn't fit. It's like it's a process that we have to go through
Mhm.
because I think when we get to it the other side, like you and me, we're both 60, which is, we're really excited to be that age. But, when we get here, there's no use saying, oh, I wish I knew all of this before, because we just don't. We will not know that. We're just young. We want to try everything. And again, we're in a society that pushes us to do things, and we feel that we have to fit into these boxes that we are given. And so, get into this stage and get into a stage, and you don't have to get to 60 to feel like that, actually. You can just be at the stage of your life where you realize that that what I was doing wasn't living,
Mhm.
it was learning. And it was trying and it was experiencing and it was all. And now I get to create what is really me. Now I get not to create it, but to actually realize and reconnect with what's really me.
Absolutely. And you were saying about the learning, there's a couple of things I want to kind of pick up on there,
Yeah.
because I believe that we come into this lifetime to have the experiences that we want to
Mm.
become the person that we are. Because actually, if you came into the world sort of, well, some people do, aren't they? They are very wise from a young age, and I think
Yeah.
it's sort of it's all down to your sort of level of where you want to come in at and what you
Yeah.
actually want to learn, because that comes with a challenge, having that wisdom at a very, very early age, because then people talk to you about being an old soul and maybe see you
Mm.
in a different light because you're then not fitting into societal norms.
Yeah.
But like you've said, you can come to this point at any time. And I very much realized when I got divorced, I was with my ex-husband for 20 years and I'd met him in 85, divorced in 2005. But as I did, I realized this light bulb moment came on. I realized I've got a second stab at life in this lifetime, and I could actually rework it in a way of my choosing. And
Mm.
that's not to say that that then wasn't without its challenges, because it took me 6 years to stop being impacted by the words he had and how he spoke to me, because he would constantly make me question myself. And I'd go, well, maybe it is me. Maybe it is me. You
Mm.
know, you could have 100 people saying the opposite, but one
Yeah,
person question you. And anyway, you know, the long and short of it is, you know, I started to sort of go on that journey.
yeah,
And so it's really been 20 years of personal development just through that sort of natural desire to learn, not because I'm going, oh my God, I'm broken, you know, I need to.
no,
It's a
it is.
curiosity, that
Yes,
critical thinking, which they seem to want to crush, but actually it's so empowering. And that's
yeah.
probably why they want to crush it, you
And
know, but it is empowering.
it's a process as well, as you say. It is a process. It's not an overnight thing. So you don't just wake up and say, oh, I know who I am. It isn't that at all. It's
No.
a realization, it's a journey, it's a move, and we're going to get into that. But you know, we've just got straight in and started chatting. I want to, you know, I want you to share, what is it that you actually do right now, you know, in terms of, you know, business or profession, or, you know, just tell everyone, what is it that you do?
Right, well, I'll give you a quick snapshot, because
Yeah,
basically I had a 36-year career in recruitment.
yeah.
During the latter years of those, well, in fact, in 2012, I trained and qualified as a coach. Unfortunately, Brexit, COVID, and the economy flatlined my recruitment business, which I then had to make the very, very difficult decision and putting that into voluntary liquidation 3 years ago, which
Mm,
was really challenging. And that, in fact, I've recorded a podcast with an insolvency firm about that,
yeah,
because you know, it's not something you go into having had any experience of it, and it kind of, it's a very, very difficult thing to navigate, especially when you then have a complete relationship breakdown with your son, and you're trying to sell houses and relocate all at the same time. To
right.
say it broke me, it broke me. However, that was the end of me and a 36-year career in recruitment. However, all of that time prior to that, from 2012, as I mentioned, personal development. I've trained and qualified as a coach, done a lot of other things along the lines. I've got a podcast myself, as you know, Harnessing
Yeah.
Happiness, which I paused at 200 episodes. And I've also authored a book, Shining a Light on You, How to Manifest Your Dream Job. I've co-authored another one, My Dad Thinks I'm a Fairy, which is all the stories about entrepreneurs and how they're misunderstood. And, you know, I write, I'm a creator, but what I do right now is I'm an executive coach and mentor. I help professionals, it's execs, business owners, other coaches, navigate the personal and professional, stitching it together with the spiritual as well. I hold that space for them, very much like yourself, to navigate their journey through life, because I've got my lived experiences where the
Yeah,
mentor hat comes on. But then, you know, I am asking those questions because, as you know, all the answers are within, but it's having
already.
somebody that makes you feel safe enough to explore all of this stuff. So that's part of what I do. But I've also got a rental property in your neck of the woods in South Wales. So I've got that, and I'm also that content creator. So would you like me at this point to mention my 58,000 followers on Instagram?
It's about that. Tell us about that.
Oh my gosh. Well, as I mentioned, I got divorced and went on a journey, found out all about internet dating back in the day,
Yeah.
and then I ended up in another relationship, another challenging relationship. We won't go into the depths of that. Then I decided, do you know what? I'm done with this. I can find my challenges at work. I do not need another challenging
You don't
relationship.
need it in relationships, do we? No.
No, no, no. So I was single for 5 years, dipped my toe in and out of dating sites, ended up meeting my now husband, because we got married last October. Um, he introduced me, Paula, to latex properly. I had previously bought a latex dress, put it on, it rolled up, pinged up, and I thought, what's the waste? What's the point? Anyway, so began. So we're talking about discovering yourself, aren't we? And
Yeah.
understanding who you are.
Mm.
And yeah, it was like, oh my gosh. Because when we were sharing, when we were communicating to start with, he'd sent some pictures of himself wearing. I went, no, I think I might be interested. Because I grew up in the 70s like you did. And I used to love watching all the glam rock stars and,
Yeah.
you know, wearing all the fantastic spandex on top of the pops. And then I loved all the flamboyance of sort of new romantics having passed through sort of punk. And I just always, always, always was so, I'm proud of the people that embraced who they were, you know, not
Mm.
knowing and understanding why that was. And
Exactly.
I never
Exactly.
felt that I was quashing myself down,
Yeah.
although during my marriage years, you know, you close down a bit and you don't do certain anyway. That's we're not going to go into all of that. But what it did was it ignited a spark within me, and so therefore I was introduced to latex and started to buy a few bits. And because it was lockdown, we started to take photographs of ourselves at home, and then stitch that together with my I'm trying to get my words out. That's not like me. My passion
Getting very
to
excited about this whole subject.
yes, but my passion for encouraging other people to be themselves, be true to themselves.
Yeah.
All the things that you said as you opened the podcast
Yeah.
about the authenticity, individuality, uniqueness, because we are all supposed to be blooming well different and
Mm.
embrace that and collaborate together. And so I'm going all tingly. I'm going all tingly, Paul.
Oh,
But
and
yeah,
that's
so
a good sign
it is
that
a
you
very, very
are
good
doing
sign
what you're meant to
to
do.
do. Yeah,
You are doing something that lights you up. Because
exactly.
honestly, that feeling, if we could bottle that up, it would be amazing. You know,
Absolutely.
and being able to feel that when you are so excited about the space that you're in and what
Mhm.
you're doing, that it just feels you can't explain. You can't explain.
No, but it's about letting that in now. It's
Yeah.
about exploring it. It's opening that mind up, like we mentioned, about curiosity and just
Mm.
trying stuff because you know
Yeah.
you don't have to stop trying because you get to a certain age. It's
No.
about let's look at this. Let's give it a try. So that's what I did, and because I was encouraging other people to be themselves, I thought, well, I've got to walk my own talk, haven't I?
Yeah.
So I tentatively opened this account up, and gradually these followers, and I've done nothing to pay for followers or anything like that. And suddenly, in fact, it did get to about 65,000 followers, but there's been algorithm changes over on Instagram anyway. But I've got this whole new network of
Oh.
people that are amazing because, you know, people have, I say people, I'm generalizing, of course. There is this perception or suggestion or idea that, you know, it's like, oh my God, it's all about
Mm.
oh, and it's not. It's about empowerment. It's about liberation. It's about having fun. It's about creativity. You know, I might be into wearing a kilt, you know, a rough wool coat with no tights. You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. You know, but it's about just embracing yourself, having fun, and that joy then follows. And as I say, I've had to deal with a lot of fallout. There's been a lot of fallout. That's why the relationship with my son broke down. We can talk about that if you want to. I don't mind. But yeah, the support and where it's led me is amazing. And right at this moment in time, my Lucy Loves Latex website is being built. So
Oh.
I'm taking it down another avenue, and I'm sort of in dialogue and conversations with people who are, you know, they've got senior jobs in all
Yeah.
it just be it's everybody. I mean, it's just and it's
Mhm.
not a cheap hobby, to be fair, Paul.
Oh, I can imagine. I can imagine. I have looked at your Instagram account.
Yes, my last ones. I saw a dress on Vinted. I mean, it's not cheap, but the
Yeah.
dress. I don't know whether you've seen it. It's the silver and metallic blue one,
Okay.
and I'd seen it on Vinted, and I had just ordered a new dress because there was a half price offer on with Libidex, and I've actually done an interview. This is another thing. You see, I've got a YouTube channel, and I've interviewed people that like the founder of Libidex. That I mean,
Yeah.
amazing. I've got an interview with him on my YouTube channel, and they've got a half price offer, and so I just literally. Do you know what? Go on then. I will do. I'll buy this dress. I really like it. And then 2 days later, this dress pops up on Vinted. I went, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I've got to have it. So I just thought, oh, I shouldn't be buying any more latex, but I'm going to buy it because it's part of me and what I do and my
Yes,
business and one thing and
exactly.
another. So I bit the bullet, bought it. And then a couple of days later, we were in a charity. No, after it had arrived, and we were in a local charity shop, and I was buying something. I think it was a couple of mugs I'd shown a friend with the letter L on. I said, "Shall I get these for you? You'll arrange it." Oh yeah, go on. Anyway, and I saw them. Saw this blue wig that they'd got on the counter at the back. I said, "Oh, how much is the blue wig? We're putting that away for Halloween." I said, "How much is it?" £1.50. So I so and therefore my outfit was born, and we just had great fun creating some content. And yeah, it's God, you've got to do the stuff that fires you up and
You know what, Sarah,
makes you
just listening
happy.
to you, I can just see just how lit up you are, how excited you are about life, how excited you are about what you do and what you love and the connections that you're making with people. And finding this little space that is
Yeah,
yours. And
yeah,
again, what I also want to say is that I'm going to repeat this again. We are not all the same. We find our people. When we find our space that we love and we really enjoy, our people find us because we're showing up in the way that we want to show up. And so,
absolutely.
other people might, as you mentioned, other people might look at you and go, oh gosh, what's she doing? And they're very judgmental. And, a lot of people are so judgmental about everybody else instead of looking inwards and thinking about, well, what is it that you want to do with your life? How do you want to be? It's sort of like very similar. You said you sort of like you're doing that. I've just set up an account on TikTok and I'm calling it Sassy at 60. And I'm just sharing my truth, but also I share things about the things that I like. I love doing my makeup, I love doing my hair, I love nice clothes, and I share that. But I get to then share my message about find out what is your thing. What's your thing? And everyone that likes you at like having those kind of conversations. So really good.
Yeah. Yeah, finding your tribe is so important. And
Yeah.
likewise, obviously my community, in fact, I've got different communities. It's not just all about the latex. It's about
No.
being yourself. I go out trail running with my husband. He introduced me to that actually. I've been running for a number of years. I mean, I was always sporty at school, but it was my friend in fact, my friend walked to the North Pole, South Pole. She's climbed El Capitan. She's done all sorts of crazy things. And it was with her that I first ran home from work. And I used to do regular 5Ks on the tarmac. And then I discovered Park Run. I've done over 200 Park Runs. So there's a Park Run community. We like open water swimming. So we've got an open water and swimming community that we sort of hang out with.
Yeah.
And wherever we go, I mean, we relocated to Norfolk 2 years ago, not knowing a soul here, but we've got a wide network of people that we know here now, as well as the people that come and visit us because we're in such, great location. We're only like 2.5 miles from the sea. And it's about, you attract those people in, and
Yeah.
it's the people that are judgmental. They're not my tribe. Anybody that is going to bring that energy down, because as you become more aware, as you become, I'll use the word loosely enlightened because I don't want it to be misinterpreted, but as you become more aware, become more self-aware, and you understand and you can sense and you can feel energy, you can walk into a room and you can sense it instantly
Straight
and
away.
you go,
Yeah.
this isn't for me.
Yeah.
And ironically, I had a very strange discovery call with a potential client yesterday who just rang me out of the blue from somewhere, and I'm like, I'm
Good feeling it.
holding some space here, but I'm not too sure about this. And I've got to trust that because your instinct, your intuition, it is
Yeah.
so important.
Yeah.
And it's you feel it, you sense it. So go with it. And when you've got a voice inside of obviously we have these voices, don't we, inside of our head.
Yeah.
And there's the one that wants the best for you. That is the one that supports you, that holds you, that tells you the right thing. Tune into it, listen to it. Yes, you can acknowledge the other voice that's going, do you really want to do that? Oh, what about this? And criticizing you can acknowledge it and go, do you know what? I've heard you, but that's it. Be quiet. Thank you very much.
And again, that's something that develops over time as well,
Mhm.
because we can hear that voice or we can't hear it because a lot
Yeah.
of the times we're just always so busy that we don't give ourselves a chance to hear the voice, or we hear it and just ignore it. So,
Mm.
so it's like being able to tune in to that.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, because you've dipped into a little bit already, but I want to take you right back to your childhood because I always like to see that thread
Mhm.
between what people are doing now to what they were like as a young person, because there's a lot of the times, well, on most occasions, on all occasions, there's a thread that that links us throughout that. And you know, when I ask people about who they are and what they love, a lot of the times they've forgotten who
Mhm.
that person is. And then when they start sort of thinking about some of the things that they really loved when they were young, it's like you said, you know, you loved, you know, sort of like that whole flamboyant, you
Yeah.
know, new romance type thing when you were younger. And there's that link, you know, is there. So tell us a bit about what was your childhood like? What was it like growing up?
I think I was very fortunate. My parents, I will say, are still alive. I was just working out. I think they'll have been married 65 years this year. My dad's 91, my mum's 87. Yes, 87, and she's still playing golf. So and my grandparents, I had grandparents locally on both sides. I had my parents that they're still in the same house that they bought when they got married. And I'm one of two. And yeah, I think from a young age, my mum was sporty, as I've just said. She's
Yeah,
still playing golf now. My dad's more laid back. I'm definitely a combination of both of them. I've got my dad's sort of like laid backness, whereas my mum's like a pessimist, but I'm that optimist. I'm the glass half
right.
full. My mother was always glass half empty. But it's interesting you should say that, because like from a really young age, I learned to swim before I was about 2.5, when my brother had been born, and
Yeah,
they took us swimming. Then we used to play badminton. I was always supported to do sort of sports and tennis and squash. I learned to play squash when I was 9. I was in the school netball team. I was always sports at school. I was in the school when I went up to senior school. I was in the hockey team, the netball team. But then I'd always got this interest. I mean, I did ballet when I was, well, I say ballet, like a village hall, not a village hall. It was a parochial church hall.
right, okay.
But I was growing quickly, and you'll never be a ballet dancer. And I think we'd got so many activities going on. The dancing was knocked on the head, because I was always looked like I was going too big, because I was always tall for my age,
Right.
until I reached 10 and I stopped growing. And anyway, so there was always a sort of a loving family, supportive family there. My gran would come and help my mum. My mum had postnatal depression after me, and then knew what it was by the time she had my brother. So I think that made it easier for her. Um, but from an early age, I would reckon my mum was very pessimistic, and I picked up on certain things. And I remember, I mean, just strange little things that interestingly link into what I then understood when I trained and qualified as a coach. For example, at the dinner table, my mum was a great cook. She had this dislike of tomatoes, and I recognized from a subconscious conscious level that I didn't want to be influenced by my mum into not liking tomatoes, because I actually liked tomatoes, but I recognized what she was doing. How? I don't know, because we are talking sort of young age. I
Yeah,
can't remember what, but I would definitely say sort of under the age of 12, must have been. I can't remember.
yeah,
So things like that. I wasn't allowed out to play on the streets, which I always thought was desperately unfair. But I always felt, because my mother had a look, you never really wanted to
no,
the mother's look. It's like, God, what's going to happen? So there was an element of fear growing up. But suffice to say, that all families have problems and issues and troubles, don't they, and things like that.
yeah,
And I grew up when the lights would go out in because of the strikes and things like that, and money was there never seemed to be a lot of money. But then we didn't necessarily need. But my gran would make my clothes. She'd make my
yeah.
school clothes. She'd knit. She'd make clothes. So I learnt to sew from an early age as well.
Me too, me too.
Yeah, I could sew before I went to school. I could read before I went to school, because I'd had that sort of time. We didn't have all these mobile devices and things
No,
like that, of course. And if you wanted anything, you used to have to wait till Christmas or your birthday,
yeah.
unless it was an item of clothing because you'd grown.
And that
That
was
that was it.
natural for us, you know.
Yeah,
It wasn't, we
yeah.
didn't expect anything else, you know.
No, exactly. But as I said, loved dancing in front of watching Top of the Pops in the 70s.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then of course, when we could record music, it was like that, pressing the
Yes,
record.
yes.
And yeah, I loved, then having all the music mags and sort of singing along, having the
Yeah,
lyrics then, which were in there. Not that I've ever been any good at singing. And that's something that's really interesting, because I was always told I couldn't sing. And so that then anchors, and you believe that you can't sing. And so therefore I've never sort of investigated that. And I've always believed myself to be tone deaf. And I think although I did try and have some singing lessons once, it was far too hard, and I think that's because of this hardwired programming.
Mm.
Who knows? I mean, it could be something I
Well,
explore, but
I
I used
feel,
to like acting at school as well. But
oh,
I
me
discovered
too.
boys.
God,
I
we're
just,
very similar.
but Paula, the boys got in the way. Why do I want to go off at lunchtime to do acting stuff when there's boys to go and talk to? So that always went by the by. But interesting, when I was at primary school in the last year of primary school, I practiced my signature because I was going to be famous. Famous at what I don't know, but that's what it was in my mind. So I've got this sort of scrawly, sort of flamboyant signature. Um, and as I say, I didn't do that. Then I did do some Amdram at one point, and then I did join the Nottinghamshire Cooperative Arts Theatre when I was married. But then, life happens and things happen. But I
Yeah,
would love, my natural space is presenting, is interviewing, is talking, is
native,
hosting, is doing
yeah.
all of that. And so then I fell into recruitment through. So my first career was in cartography. I actually applied. The British Geological Survey are in the village my parents still live in, and they just opened up, and I just sent my CV down there, and I was then invited in for an interview, which I didn't get the job first time round, but then they were recruiting more cartographers. And as myself and somebody else I'd been at school with, she was a year above me at school, we both got offered jobs because we'd got art and we lived locally, and that was all part of it. And we that's what went to work there as a cartographer, and it was fantastic, but it was so slow, so quiet. Then met my ex-husband, went down to London, and I got a job demonstrating computer graphics equipment because I'd got an O-level art driving license and was prepared to travel, which saw me going on club class flights up the country, across into Europe at a young age. But we weren't there for long, and then we came back, and I'd been doing switchboard cover, and that started my career into doing some switchboard cover as a temp, and then ended up seeing recruitment agencies in action and thinking, I like this.
Yeah,
And this is the whole thing about manifestation, which is what triggered me to write the book later in life, was because I then recognized that I wanted a job working in recruitment. I didn't really know what it all involved, but I liked the energy around it all. And I picked up in one agency that they were recruiting for another agency. And I said, put me forward if anybody falls out. And well, put me forward. No, we've got all the interview slots. If anybody drops out, put me forward,
yeah.
which they did. I got the job. Sadly, I was made redundant 3 months later because they were struggling in the sector that they were in. I think they went down not long after that. But that started my career in recruitment, which plays into all of that because you're with people, you're talking. And my profile is that I'm a star supporter through, I don't really know Roger Hamilton, but I'm a star
Yeah,
supporter.
he was one of my key people that I followed early days in my business.
Yeah, I had his
Yes, right, we were in a shadow of each other, weren't we?
Yeah, so I had my profile done about 10
Yeah,
years
mine was a
ago.
star as well. So
Yeah, star
star
supporter. So we both love supporting other people to be the best person that they can be, which falls into recruitment. And I've got this like blaze dynamo energy. So and if we come down to human design, I'm a manifestor generator. So I'm like, creative. Don't give me the detail, Paula. Though that's just
Yeah,
do not give
exactly
me.
the same. Yeah, I'm the same. Yeah, I don't want to be there, working with figures, analysing anything, doing all. And funnily enough, I've been a business analyst. So, I've
Gosh.
got the skills, but I don't really want to be that person sitting there going through all the details. Sorry.
No, well, that's it, isn't it? When we can have the skill set, but does it
Yeah.
fire us up? Which is where, when I'm working with recruitment, and when I'm working with when I was working in recruitment, I should say, and when I'm working with clients, you can see, and this through people's physiology, because the people, once you're in something, but you don't necessarily realize that, you do it as a job, and that's what you do, that's what you get
Yeah.
on with, because that's what you've been programmed to do. But until somebody can reflect that back to you and go, did you, when you were talking about spreadsheets, you were talking about this, but as soon as you started to talk about something else, your energy rises. And like you picked up about me and my passion about latex,
Yeah.
I get equally excited when I'm going into the sea going, oh my God, it's so cool.
Yeah.
And then you come out exhilarated and bright pink and you go, oh my gosh, that was good. But it's about igniting what fires you up. So I would encourage anybody, just to give things a try, you know.
Just try different things, you know.
Yeah.
I say this a lot to young people because I also work with young people, and I say just try stuff, because I think as well in this today's society, a lot of kids spending their time online anyway, and they're not doing the physical things or the practical things. It's all like, oh, let's just go online and see what's going on. But it's like getting out there and experiencing different things, because it's not until you try it that you realize, oh, do you know what? I really love this. That makes my heart sing. It makes me happy. It lights me up. And you can only find that out if you try different things. You know,
Yeah,
you keep doing it. You know.
exactly.
So, Sarah, I'm going to ask you, um, because we've talked about this, and this is a journey, what brought you to this point in your life. And I always like to ask the question about, what was it like when you started to make that change in your life to live the way that you wanted to? So whether it was a time that you set up your business, or when you set up the latex side of things, was that scary in any way in terms of the people around you, the negative voices there? And I think you touched on it before, because we get the negative voices from ourselves in our own head, and we also get the negative voices of people around us. So what was that like for you when you decided to sort of, right, I'm going to live my true life. I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to set up my business. I'm going to do this, follow this path. What was that like in
It's
terms of, you know, how you felt?
Yeah, it's really interesting you should ask that, because what just dropped into my head then is the conversation that I have with other people, because so many people have ideas that they want to do it, but fear holds them back. And invariably, in fact, another discovery call with somebody else the other day who was saying that she really wished her business would make her redundant or sack her, because that would take the decision making away from her. It's empowering when you actually take that step, that leap of faith into yourself.
When
So
you,
here's
yeah, without
Yeah,
somebody pushing you. Yeah.
exactly. So here's the thing. I'd been employed for years in recruitment. I started in recruitment in 87. I left recruitment in 2009. That was 4 years after I'd got divorced. All the time I was married to my ex-husband, or with my ex-husband. He was self-employed. I was always the main breadwinner. The very thought of doing anything self-employed, when there's no point having those thoughts. They don't even enter your mind, because it's never going to be a reality, because it just, so I don't know, the thoughts don't even come in. So it wasn't even a question of, I wish I could do this, but I can't, because it was, my life had been sort of manipulated. I didn't have a life, but by the time my son was born and spent 6 years, I hadn't been out for 6 years. The
Oh,
life I'm living now bears absolutely no resemblance to the life I
yeah.
was living back then. I didn't know it wasn't right, because I didn't have the
No.
conversations that we're having today to know that it wasn't right. And it
Yeah.
was only as I sort of leapt out, as the light bulb went on. There was something catalytical that happened. It's not now for the discussion, but it once you become aware of something, you then have to do something about it. So that was what happened with my divorce, and I guess that's what happened in many respects with going self-employed, because things had shifted. We'd been going through a recession at work, and there were the dynamics. So there was the recession going on in the UK anyway, and then the dynamics at work were at play because of what was going on with the two business owners, etc. And coming back to the energy that you said before, we were discussing before about how you can go into a room and it can, and you get out. I would go into the office, I've got this energy, like you said, and I would it would be pulling me down, Paula.
Yeah.
Not that anybody was having a go at me or anything like that. That wasn't the case.
Training.
I'd had that a few years earlier with somebody at work that was trying to undermine me. That I'd risen above that. But I I couldn't, I just could not stay in that environment. And I'd spoken to a couple of colleagues and said, just tentative about going self-employed. And, oh, no, we're happy. We are where we are. We're happy with where we are. That's fine. Okay. Out of the blue, and I kid you not, I was offered 2 opportunities to go self-employed as a recruitment consultant underneath the banner of two business owners who'd already done that.
Yeah.
And this is where the inspiration to write my book came from,
Yeah.
because when we get clear, opportunities manifest. And as I said, some people wait for that redundancy or that being sacked or something to happen that forces that to happen. I knew I had to make a decision. I knew I had to do it. I hadn't got a Scooby-Doo, Paula. I hadn't got a Scooby-Doo. I had to go and then reach out. I went to, oh gosh, what was it called then? There was some local not business, something or other. So I had help from them. They don't exist anymore. And they helped me put together a business plan to go to the bank, to get a loan, to pay myself a salary for 6 months whilst I started to work on a self-employed basis as a consultant, because bearing in mind I was a single mother at the time. So I was responsible for the mortgage. I was responsible for everything. The money I had from my ex-husband was negligible. So I had to make sure that, but as the person that I chose to work for, not work for, but work under on a self-employed basis, said they would not have kept you in recruitment had you not been making the money, which I always have. I mean, I've always generated a decent turnover for the business, and that's what made the decision for me. And you just know, and it is empowering. And I always, that is anchored for anything else that I have done, is that I was capable of doing that as a single woman, single parent with a mortgage to pay. I did that and I made it happen. And then I went, that was self-employed, and then I qualified as a coach when I was with my next partner, and then learning and going on the whole coaching journey, which I wish was essential for everybody, because it further empowers you. And that gave me the concept. I decided to work as a coach because I wanted to get out of recruitment, Paula.
But it sounds to me like, anything or people around you who might have said, oh, well, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? It wouldn't have affected you because you knew that I have to do this.
Exactly. And that's it. You know. And when you know something, you know you have to do it. There is no question. And ironically, you said that when I got divorced, there was something, I can't remember when it was, but I think my ex-husband, he didn't bother fighting the divorce because he made a comment that he knows that when I make my mind up about something, I do it. I mean, that wasn't to say he didn't take me to court over the custody of my son and stuff like that, but he didn't fight the divorce, although he did want me to do it his way, and I was like, I don't think so. We're doing it through solicitors. Anyway, but yeah, it's that inner knowing, which is what I think where people get to in life when they suddenly know they have got to make a decision. But when you make those decisions, when you make that shift for change, it's a bit like us deciding to move to the coast 2 years ago. We both knew we wanted to be at the coast. We looked across the board. We did consider Wales. We considered further around on Norfolk, but we had to then sort of rationalise it down. The Meta Milton model, we started with a bigger picture, but then had to narrow it down and become more selective. Whereas actually, if you're looking at it like that, then you've got to build it out to have a bigger sort of image of it all. But all of this stuff has tooled me up, which is why I'm able to help clients with so many different aspects of their business life, their work life, business careers. Exactly, because you've been there, you've lived it. I've done the whole circuit. As I said, I had to make the difficult decision because I did a lot of bilingual recruitment. Brexit didn't help. And then obviously COVID, all the work that I had on flatlined. But I saw that as an opportunity. So it's mindset. Mindset is so powerful.
Everything. It is everything.
So whereas other people were making people, furloughing people or downing tools and going, yay, I was going, oh my God, here's an opportunity not to recruit. Let's see what we can do. YouTube channel, this and that. And I was, oh gosh, I'm getting tingly again just because of the excitement.
Exactly.
And that's what happens when you start to embrace something new, and the whole latex stuff, we go to events, we meet people. I've got clients that have come through that avenue, but that are solid clients, not anything sort of untoward, but like, senior execs that travel the globe, but they like latex. And to have somebody, and this is where when you speak your truth, your authentic truth, you connect with the right people that will then gravitate towards you. You'll love this story. One of my latest clients came to me via eBay, Paula. So I was selling some chairs on eBay. She came to pick them up, came in, we got chatting, connected straight away. Turns out her sister's following me on Instagram and had a Zoom call, and we've been working together since the beginning of December.
Oh my goodness.
It's about that honesty,
Yeah.
because you've got with honesty is integrity. And I don't want to, I'm not going to trying to big myself up, but what I'm trying to do is transmit to everybody is that when you are truthful, when you are not listening to the naysayers, not listening to the people that pull you down, because the reason they pull you down is because they can see you rising up and they don't want you to rise up, because that means that they've got to then do the work on themselves. So therefore they will naturally move away from you. And this is where, sadly, my son comes in. I mean, I'd struggled with his levels, just so much stuff for years, so much so that I wanted to leave home before I met Gareth, and I couldn't leave home because it was my home.
Yeah.
But I'd had to move. It was a non-negotiable. You've got to move out. I could not cope. It was breaking me. My mental health was suffering because of the way he spoke to me, the issues he'd create, and love him to bits, and proud of him, and he's fab. But how he was to me was breaking, absolutely breaking. Anyway, his friends found out about my Lucy Loves Latex account, and he kicked off big time. And I get it. I totally got it. But there was no reasoning with him. There was no way that he would have it any other way, that I needed to either delete the account or make it private. And I'm sorry, you're picking the fight with the wrong person, because although honestly, it broke me. I was just like, oh my God. What shit, what do I do? Excuse my language, but what do I do? And I did take it down momentarily, and I thought, what am I doing? That's colluding with him. What is that teaching him? Take what I am doing in latex, which is empowering, as far as the conversations I have with everybody else is concerned. What is that telling him? By me colluding with him, what is that teaching him? As a woman, as a business owner, as somebody who stands in the truth of their power, what is that saying? I would be fake. How could I continue to do what I do by making myself small?
Yeah.
Because that is diminishing everything I'm encouraging other people to do. I might as well just forget my life and say my life's over then. Okay, well, because even if I did do that, I would have been in the wrong anyway for something else.
Yeah.
So I had to deal with that, and I left it, Paula, for 6 months. Left it completely for 6 months, and I had to contact him because we thought we were going to be moving. He'd got stuff in the house and needed to message him. It was coming up to my dad's birthday, so I sent him a very nice message saying, just kept it nice.
Yeah.
I heard nothing for 3 days, then suddenly got an A4 text message full of toxic abuse, and it was just, I thought he would have actually calmed down in 6 months.
No.
It broke me. Bearing in mind my business had gone into liquidation, it was in voluntary liquidation at that point. I'd had to make my office manager redundant. We were in the bits of selling houses, trying to relocate. I've gone down the journey of somatic healing. I did loads of research. I've learned a lot about narcissism, which made a lot of sense to all the stuff I've struggled with his dad and him over the years. But I've done the healing. There is an acceptance that comes with it is what it is. I can't force him to change, but likewise, he can't tell me how to live my life. And if I live my life according to his terms, that's colluding with him, and that's teaching him some very bad lessons. So I hope at some point, I've had a proper conversation for the first time with my mother about it a couple of weeks ago, because it hasn't been discussed, because my dad's had a stroke during all of this time, and mum's got enough on, doesn't need my drama, I don't need any dramas. And she would love to see it resolved, but how time will resolve, and hopefully maturity. And as we're talking, this is playing out, as you know, globally with the Beckham drama. And I recognize so much, because my son and Brooklyn Beckham are the same age, and I have watched this from the sidelines. I'm not an ex-Spice Girl, I haven't got multi-millions in the account, but this has got, I think there is some underlying politics and stuff at play, which isn't, it's not for this podcast, but I have watched this from the sidelines over the last 3 years and a bit more, because of what I've listened to and what I've heard and what I've observed and what resonates. I'm going, and I have every empathy for Victoria and David Beckham, because, you know, whatever, I mean, she is a fierce, strong businesswoman. And of course,
I feel that none of us can put a judgment, going back to that word judgment, on anybody's life, because nobody is there in the middle of that person's life. Nobody knows the experiences that are happening, the conversations that have happened, the ups, the downs, the just life that's gone on with that. And so, and in this world where we have social media and internet and everything, everyone feels like they know everyone. All they see is what they've seen online and what the people have shared. And, you know, I love that word grace. Just give people grace, you know, to just, you know, give yourself grace, give other people grace to deal with their issues the way they deal with it, you know, because I always think there's always two sides to a story. One person is, and each side is going to feel that their side is valid. So, you know, it's trying to understand that people have lives that are going to, they're going to explode. It's going to explode, or it's going to be really calm, really easy, but there's going to be different ways of getting through it. And so, you know, all we can do is to think about ourselves and how we can preserve ourselves and how we can live our lives. Sarah, I'm going to have to wrap this up because we've been chatting for ages.
I know.
I've just got some quick fire questions. They are definitely quick fire.
Are you sure about that, Paula?
Yes, no. Yes, no.
Now, if I can do it in 15 words, I'll do it in 1500. So bear in mind, bear with me.
Okay. So the first one is, do you understand what makes you truly happy?
Oh, yes, of course.
I knew you would. Couple of words. Lots
of things.
top two.
Oh gosh, just living life and embracing life and just living it and not worrying about the minutiae and going with the flow and trusting that everything is working out.
Exactly.
We are a life of many moving parts, so you've just got to acceptance, Paula, acceptance of what is, and knowing that things change, and you can only deal with the cards you've got in your hand at any one time.
Yeah, and we can only deal with the moment as well. So
exactly,
you know, thinking about ahead and whatever, no, just deal with what's in front of us right now. The next question is, how are you with getting still to feel emotion?
Oh, how? What do you mean?
Still, so that you can hear that inner voice.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm in that stillness. You know, from when I wake up in the morning, I will do meditation. I'm in the shower. I have curated an ability to have a still mind, because I have got a mind that's got
that's crazy.
So many things going on at the same time, but I don't procrastinate. I make lists. I've got planners. I know what I'm doing, but I am comfortable with who I am, to know that even if I might have things planned out, it is okay to deviate, because actually priorities in life change daily. You know, whatever you think that you might be wanting to do. And I guess recruitment taught me this anyway, because you can start off the morning thinking you're going to do one job, then something else takes a priority, then something else takes a priority, and then it's like, oh, that's all gone, what's it up? So you know, you have to move with the parts, go with the flow, follow the energy, and any resistance, just sort of walk away from it. So that's where the stillness comes from within. And did you say something about being
feeling? Because I mean, when you're still, that's the only time that you can hear that inner voice, and you can feel whether something feels right or not. We talked a lot about energy, and you don't feel that. Sometimes you cannot feel it because you're not still enough to feel it. And you know, it doesn't have to be physically still. It's just, as you say, mentally still, that you can feel that. And I can tell from you know, our conversation anyway, that that's how you are in terms of you can feel it.
Oh, absolutely. You just, and you can let things, just, it's letting the thoughts flow through, because our brains are constant, as you know, they're processing millions of bits of information, sensory information, every single second. So you know, your brain's doing all sorts of stuff, so just let it flow in and flow out. And if there's a tip for people actually going to bed at night, you know, if your brain is busy, you can't say to it, thank you, but not now.
Yeah.
Thank you, but not now. And
Yeah.
switch off. But another top tip behind bedtime is if you have got loads of things going on, get it all written down.
Yeah, and just park it. Next
Mm.
question, and I know the answer to this already. Have you found your tribe?
Oh, yes. I've got lots of different tribes all over the place. I've got global tribes. I've got people
Yeah,
that I've met through all the personal development across the globe. We're going to South Africa, we're going to New Zealand, we're going to Australia, we're going to Canada, we're going to
awesome.
America, we're going
Yeah,
into Europe.
yeah, I love it.
Locally as well. Yeah. I've got
Yeah.
loads of people I've connected with, and that's that is the beauty of the
Mm,
internet. And I think what we have to do is pick out the bits that work for us, discard the rest,
yes,
as with everything in life.
yeah,
You constantly absorbing information, but what resonates with you, go with that, and start to recognize the noise so you can cancel it out, because actually there is more in the unseen than there is in the seen. So then you actually see all of this stuff, a bit like what we were talking about before. Just just look between the lines, read between the lines, and
mm,
just let people get on with their own stuff, you know?
yeah, yeah. My mum used to say, because she always had all these sayings, and she used to say, you know, chew all the good stuff and then spit out the rubbish.
Yes, exactly. And be
Yeah,
kind to yourself. And if you
yes.
haven't got anything nice to say,
Mm,
don't blimmin' well say it,
yeah, yeah.
Just keep it to yourself. I mean,
Tough, yeah.
once it's on the internet, it's on the internet.
And no, finally, my final question to you is, do you love yourself unconditionally?
Yes. Yes. And I want to caveat that, because I
Yeah,
think sometimes people feel that loving yourself is egotistical. It's not.
no.
It's essential. Self-care isn't selfish. It is essential, because if you can't, oh, I'm going to channel a bit of RuPaul. If you can't love yourself, how the hell can you love anyone else?
Yes, yeah.
Hell yes to that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It is that thing, you love yourself not because you think you're perfect, but you love
Oh
yourself
gosh.
warts and all. You
Oh
love
yeah.
yourself knowing that you are a work in progress, that you
Mhm.
are who you are, and just understanding, your thoughts and your mindset and all of those things about you, rather than trying to see everyone else and think, oh well, I want to be like them, or I want to be like so and so, I want to be like something. You are absolutely special the way you are. So
Exactly.
special. So special because
Exactly.
nobody has the pieces of you that you have.
No, absolutely.
So
You can get
yeah,
inspired. You can get inspired by what other people do,
yeah,
but to
yes.
emulate them,
Yeah, but
you're not being who you are and true to
no,
yourself, because it is easy to.
exactly.
I mean, and FOMO is such a big thing, isn't it? Oh, I wish I was like them. And no, be yourself. Find your thing. Find what
Totally.
floats your boat. Find what fires you up. What brings that fire up
Mm,
within you. And even if it's just a little flicker to start with, that
yeah,
flicker might
it
take you on
goes.
to, might be the first connection to lighting another flame, to lighting another flame, to lighting
Yeah.
another flame, which takes you into the direction that you actually want to go.
Well,
Because actually, all life is a journey of experiences.
yeah.
And so it's to embrace those experiences and to grow. And as I say, if people do move away and out of your life, and at the moment, as I say, sadly, my son isn't in my life. I'm hoping that he will be back in my life at some point in the future. And I think with that will come, I think is it Gen Z? I think it might be a Gen Z thing. So I
I'm a
listened
bit
to it.
confused.
Yeah, I know. Well, I listened to a talk. I was part of the Professional Speaking Association for some time a few years ago, and I listened to somebody deliver a keynote about when they start to mature, and because they didn't have what we had when we were growing up. Sorry, this is a long answer, but um, we grew up having to go to either the phone box or use a proper phone and
Yeah,
remember the number and tap it all in, and you'd have to use the equipment to do all the recording. You'd have to
yeah,
save up your cash, and you'd all of these things. If you wanted to go anywhere, you'd get the atlas out and you'd plan your route.
yeah,
All of these things are done at a touch of a button now, so they aren't there's a lot of experiences they're not having until later in life. So they're not
absolutely.
maturing till about the age of 30. So
Yeah,
whereas we probably were more mature at 18 than that, and many of them are
yeah,
now.
yeah.
I'm not saying across the board,
And it's
because
it's quite sad, really, isn't it?
it is.
The depth that we lived with and had when we were young, the
Mm,
depth isn't there, and
no,
it takes longer, as you say. Sarah, it has been an absolute joy to
it's
have
been
you on this
fabulous. Thank
podcast.
you.
We've had a good old chat, put the world to rights. And we've got so many similar things
I
about.
know. It's
I've loved
amazing.
our conversation. And I hope that everyone listening, that you've enjoyed this conversation. I'm sure there's lots of little gems that you can take away in terms of, thinking about your true life and what lights you up as well. Sarah, where can people find you? Where's the best place to find you online? I will share your links, but where's the best place for people to find you if they want to connect?
Oh, fabulous. Well, if they want to actually connect via social media,
Yeah,
go to LinkedIn as Sarah J Naylor. That's where you
yeah,
can find me. My website is sarahjnaylor.com. I have written
yeah,
a recent blog about some of the stuff we've just been talking about. That went
right.
up yesterday. And if you're interested in the latex side of things, you'll find me as Lucy Loves Latex. And there'll be a website coming live soon.
Fabulous,
And I'm
fabulous.
on Substack as well. And yeah, and YouTube. It
And
both
YouTube
counts.
as
So,
well.
so yeah, I'm a little
So
bit of a,
you can
yeah.
just, if you are interested in finding out more about Sarah, you just put a name in and you'll find it.
You'll find me.
Yeah,
Something
exactly.
like that, yeah. But you'll need the J in there, the Sarah J
Yeah.
Naylor. And I did that
Oh,
because when I wrote my book, I put the J in there because there seems to be a lot of Sarah Naylors out there. So I thought, I'll
okay.
do that.
Okay. Oh, thanks again, Sarah.
Thank you
And
so much.
thank you everyone for listening. I will be back with another amazing guest very soon. But in the meantime, keep being the true you. Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.